The word Rabb is complicated. It has a lot of meanings. At the very base of it, they say in Arabic, Rabb huwa al-Malik, wal-mun'im, wal-murabbi, wal-sayyid, wal-qoyyim. I'll make it in English for you, it's going to be easy. Rabb is someone who owns. Number one, the owner. It's the first meaning of Rabb, the owner. But if he's the owner, what does that make me? What does that make me? Property. Right? An owner has what? Property. It makes me property of Allah. That's the first meaning, al-Malik. The second is al-murabbi. Murabbi means someone who ensures the growth. Someone who takes care of something so it can grow. That's called a murabbi. Now the thing of the word murabbi is it possible that you own something but you don't take care of it? Does that ever happen? Like you own a car but you don't do the oil change? Right? You own a computer but you never clean out the files or whatever. You download all kinds of dumb things and it gets a virus and all of that. You own but you don't take care of it. It's very possible. Like you have a backyard but you never garden in it. And it's all kinds of crazy things growing in the back. Or your kids have a room and they don't take care of it. Right? So you have ownership but you don't care. The word Rabb is someone who owns but also what? Cares. He takes care of it. He makes sure that it's cared for. That's murabbi. Wal mun'im. The third is you own something, you take care of it, and you give it gifts. You give it gifts. Now, just because, for example, and obviously we don't have slavery like that anymore, but if you have an employee, it's one thing to have an employee, it's another thing to take care of your employee, and it's another thing on top of that to give your employee what? Gifts, benefit, on top of what he deserves. On top of what she deserves, you're giving gifts. And if you're reluctant to do that with an employee, you would even be more reluctant to do that with a slave. Imagine someone back in the day, we don't have the concept of slavery like that anymore, but we have the concept, for example, of owning animals. Somebody owns a goat. You're not going to buy your goat a nice bow tie or you don't give it gifts. You just take care of it and that's enough. But the Rabb is someone who owns, who ensures the growth, who also gives gifts. What that means to you and me, I'll talk about in a second. Qoyyim, and the one who makes sure it stays together, it doesn't fall apart. Because if he stops taking care of it, it falls apart. How many of you are into gardening at all? Nobody? Okay, that's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to hold it against you. Sometimes in gardening you have very delicate plants. And if you don't take care of them for one day, they will fall apart. Some of you take care of fish. You don't feed it for one day. Oh! It's okay, it's okay. He's poor kid. Can somebody find a parent, please? He's like, poor kid. So many people here. Okay. If your child has a blue t-shirt and they're hyperactive, that's where they are. So, I was saying, السيد, المالك, والمربي, والمنعم, والقيم, the one who maintains the existence. If Allah stops taking care of us for 1 second, for half a second, everything falls apart. The blood circulating in my hands, the heart beating from one beat to another, is because Allah is letting it. Allah is making it even. He stops taking care of it for 1 second, and it's gone. It's all gone. This is qayyim. So what that word means is we're completely dependent on Allah, constantly. Then finally, the final meaning of Rabb is sayyid, which means someone who has full authority. Someone who has full authority. Is it possible that you own something, but you don't have full authority over it? You own a car, but you cannot drive it however you want. Is that possible? You own a property, but you cannot build however you want. You have to follow regulations. Is that possible? Yeah. But when someone owns something and they have full authority to do whatever they want, then they are called Rabb. Then they are called Rabb. Allah introduced Himself with the word Rabb. Rabb means someone who owns you, which means you own nothing. Rabb is someone who will make sure that you grow. He will care for you. So He doesn't just own you and not care. Rabb is someone who will give you gifts, which means I first of all, I don't own anything, so anything I do own must be a gift. It's not something I earned. I didn't pay for my hand. How much are you willing to sell your hand for? A leg for? A nose for? An eye for? What are you willing to pay for it? SubhanAllah. Priceless gifts, huh? These are gifts given to us. Who's willing to sell their heart? Who was willing to do that? SubhanAllah. These are priceless gifts. Then on top of that, mun'im, qoyyim, and He's maintaining my existence. I only exist because He's letting me. One breath to the next is not because I eat well, I do exercise, I take care of myself, I make sure I breathe in a healthy environment, etc., etc. That is not why I'm alive. I'm alive because He's letting me stay alive. There are plenty of ways people can stop existing. I knew of people that were younger than me, and perfectly healthy, exercise, everything. And out of nowhere, the guy's cooking breakfast for his children, falls and dies of a heart attack in the kitchen. 29 years old. With no history of heart attacks, with no priors in the family, nothing. That depends on Allah. We're not independent of that. From moment to moment to moment. And finally, a recognition that I actually have no authority. Entirely, the authority is in Allah's hands. All of that comes from the word Rabb. It all comes from the word Rabb. Now about this word Rabb. When I say teacher, who does a teacher have a relationship with? Students. When I say parent, who does he have a relationship with? Children. When I say boss, employer, who does an employer have a relationship with? Employees. There are some titles that necessarily have a relationship. When you say intelligent, it doesn't necessarily have a relationship with anyone. When you say tall, that doesn't mean you have a relationship with anyone. But when you say employer, it means you have a relationship with who? Employee. Now there are some names of Allah that don't give you a relationship. Allah is knowledgeable. The word knowledgeable does not give you a relationship. It's a description of Allah, independent of anybody else. But when Allah calls Himself Master, Rabb, with all of these meanings, is it necessarily creating a relationship? Yes? Allah introduced Himself with the first description. The first description of Allah is something that builds a relationship. Now we have lots of relationships with Allah. Allah is the creator, we are the creation. Yes? Allah is the giver, we are the recipients. Yes? Allah is the teacher, we are the students. Yes? These are all relationships we have with Allah. But Allah says put all of those relationships as second. The first relationship you need to know about, that is the one that you will never let go of. That is the one that will always be there every moment of your day, is which one? That He is Rabb, and you are, and I am what? What does that make us in Arabic? You know the term? Abd, slave. It makes us a slave.